All right, Kiss Army, welcome to the KISSFAQ podcast. Thank you for letting us into your head. I hope we don't do any damage. This is a Kiss-related podcast by the board, for the board. We hope you enjoy. Welcome to episode 17 of the KISSFAQ podcast. I'm your host, Julian Gill. Joining me today, returning for the first time in a while, Alex, Ken.
Guys.
Welcome back. And we have a new face today, and it's Joel. So, Joel, you're ludzil, or how do you say it?
Ludzil. Ludwig drums, Zildjian cymbals. So.
Awesome combination. So you're from the FAQ board, and you're the new guy. So why don't you introduce yourself and tell everyone out there in television land what you're about?
Yep, from Portage, Michigan, which is literally Kalamazoo, Michigan, just different side of the highway. And let's see, I moved here to go to college, went to Western Michigan University, and met my wife there and stayed here. And we recently just had a baby boy, so everything is just top of the world for me. Cannot complain one bit in that department. And but as far as becoming a KISS fan, my older brother was probably to blame or to thank for that. But he would bring home, he was a little bit older than me, and he was bringing home Quiet Riot, Motley Crue, Rat, Bryan Adams, and this one band he brought home was KISS. And so that must have been around probably the Animalize period. But at the same time, he had Double Platinum, Destroyer, and some of them was on 8-track, some was vinyl, some were vinyl. And that's pretty much how it started. And so every night before he went to sleep, because it was myself and my two other brothers, we had bunk beds in the room and stuff like that, he would play on this old stereo with an 8-track player, Double Platinum, all night, and it would just click over, just play continuously. So Double Platinum to this day is just engraved in my head, and that's not a bad thing.
No, if you're gonna have anything ingrained in your head, Double Platinum's a good one, even with the slightly weird songs, because it makes, when you hear the regular ones, you go, "Whoa, that's not the one I remember."
Yeah, very much so.
So, what's your favorite KISS album?
It's hard because I think all of us here just have just enjoyed this band so much. Sometimes it's KISS Alive, just because it's just so raw and just you feel like you're there at times. And then the first three are very essential. And then at times I really love Revenge. So I kind of grew up during that time period. But for me, this band has a great catalog. So one day it might be one album, and the next day it might be the best. And so to me, that just proves how good of a band they are.
What about for a favorite member? Who's your pick?
Favorite member? I started out being a drummer, so I wanted to start out with Peter Criss. It was actually my first tape I ever bought. And then Eric Carr, and then pretty much transcended into Eric Singer, more of a musical style of what I wanted to accomplish as a musician and a drummer.
You're not an Ed Cannon fan? I mean, because even though he did one show, Ed Cannon all the way.
That's funny. I think I've seen it on YouTube once or twice.
All right, guys. So today's topic is I'm gonna hold up the cheap one. KISS box set, guys. And this came in 3 flavors. You could get the cheap one, like mine is called, or as they called it in Japan, the cigar box version. Or you could get was it even real leather or patent leather guitar case, mini guitar case version. Or you could get the full-size guitar case that came with a reproduction, a live platinum album or gold album or something like that, which I think you could store in your KISS coffin. But I went for the cheap one. And I guess the question we're going to ask today, is this the mother of all box sets, as Gene pontificated for so many years? And it's a 5 CD, 80-song set. I guess it might make sense to go through it CD by CD, and what are the glaring omissions, or what are the real songs that jump out at you as wins? Alex, let's just start with question number 1. What was your initial impression of the track listing of the box set?
Well, I gotta give a shout out. I don't condone it, anybody. I was 14 in high school, but thanks to Baco. I was able to get a CD of just the demos, just the unreleased tracks. That was my first like sample. But then I got enough money and I bought a used copy at a record shop in Maryland where I was living for like $50. And I thought package-wise it was cool. I mean, don't get me wrong. I used to go like look at it at Borders and stuff. They had the mid-section one, so like the miniature guitar case one, and it was like $250. So I would just go like, someday. Mind you, I was 14, so $250 was quite a bit of money for a 14-year-old. That's a big investment right there. That's like buying a house. But I thought it was way cool. I was super intrigued, just looking at the back of the set. I wish I had mine with me. Maybe you could show yours, Julian, if it still has the sheet. But I would look at the track listing, and I would see like all the different unreleased tracks, and just kind of go like, I wonder what they would sound like and stuff. So I definitely was super intrigued on the inside. Like what did it contain? Because it is a big container. Slightly disappointed once I did get it and you look inside and it's like, because I got what you got, the standard, the cigar box, and you're like, a catalog, obviously, because everything's got to be a moment to sell something with Paul and Gene. The book, though, the book that it came with, though, it's probably one of the best books, that they've ever published together with the photos and stuff. And then the CDs, of course, that was a highlight, that was a gem.
Yeah, I think the book could have been bigger and could have weighed about 500 pounds and sold for $4,000 itself, and then it would have been perfect. Joel, what about you? What were your initial impressions of the box when you heard about it?
It's funny because I actually bought it. I didn't have summer classes at the time, and I was off. I worked a weekend job. I worked a couple different weekend jobs. And so I happened to go to the mall, and I was down at the lower level, and I could literally hear KISS coming from FYE. So I literally got on the excavator, got up there and stuff, and walked in the store, and they were blaring. I mean, it was loud. They were blaring the very best of KISS. And for some odd reason, it just, wow, it sounded really cool because I kind of, after the farewell tour, kind of zoned off a little bit because the band wasn't doing anything really. And before I knew it, I had it in my hands, at FYE. And I was just like, I'm going to grab this thing. And so I grabbed it. And I like the box set a lot, but to me, there's just so many things that aren't on it. And, I don't want to be one of those fans that just, complain, they should have done this and should have done that. But to me, I think I would love to have had the entire Wicked Lester recording on there. I think what a great opportunity would have been for the box set. Has that ever been officially released at all?
It hasn't, and they remastered the whole album with the same sonics that the songs that they did release on the box does exist and circulate now. So they had it. They actually paid to remaster everything and only use 3 tracks. So real head scratcher to not include the whole album.
Right. And so there is that, and then the original demo, 5-song demo, songs. I think put that on there. You could have had just one whole disc of the Wicked Lester, and then another one with just the 5 songs, and then the other songs they recorded at Bell Sound, I believe. But that's just, it's still, to listen to it, it's still great, especially, the demos. That's the stuff I really wanted to hear more than anything, rather than a expanded greatest hits album. But it's still really cool.
And we'll talk about some of the demos in a few minutes. Ken, what about you?
I remember it was coming out, and I remember, it's coming out the first day. I knew they had the mini guitar case, so I was kind of looking at that one. I think the full-size guitar case was just way over my budget at the time, so I went down to, I think it was Best Buy when they opened, and went in there and immediately found a couple, or I only bought one, but there was like only 1 or 2 or 3 there stocked, so picked it up. I don't think it's leather. I don't know. I don't think it smells like leather. I pulled it out last night, and I don't think it's leather. I think it's like some kind of vinyl.
Leftover Kissery covers.
Yeah. So, it's not the monster, the king of all box sets. I don't think. While it is good, it could have been a lot better. And I think they should have went, instead of 5 discs, they should have went to 10 discs.
Agreed.
I mean, 10 would have made more sense to me. I mean, a lot of other artists were doing maybe 3 to 5 discs in general when they do their box sets. If they wanted to really upstep it from these other, be the big boys, they could have done a 10 disc set and add a lot more. The track listing, it covers most of it, but yes, there's stuff missing, like Joel was saying. And the Wicked Lester, that was a thing that popped out to me, and plus the early songs, they had Gene and Paul's early bands, but didn't have any Ace or Peter, right, in there at all. So from their pre-Kiss material. So yeah, I mean, track listing, I guess we'll be going over. There's some omissions, glaring omissions for me, but it covers it for the general casual fan. Sure, it's great, but they got to start realizing some point that most of the people that buy their music are the diehard Kiss fans. There's no longer a lot of casual fans that buy their music, in my opinion. And if they focused on the Kiss Army fans, they would sell a lot more, because, hey, like Paul Stanley, we're 1 million strong, or probably more than that, but they could sell, a lot more records, I think.
Yeah, they got to pay a little bit more attention to the SoundScan figures, which really proves that there aren't a whole lot of record-buying Kiss fans these days. If you also figure that The Very Best of Kiss is the largest selling album of the SoundScan era, I believe it's up there with Smashes, Thrashes, and Hits, and that came out in 2002. So, let's keep on... so I don't go off on a tangent, keep on the box set. For me, I can't even remember where I bought it. I was obviously in San Francisco. I think at the time I was in touch with someone from Universal in Canada, and I was able to get one of those promos that just had the rare tracks on it. And there were like only 300 of those made. I shouldn't have sold it, but really cool thing. I bought, obviously, the cheap one because I just hate that really... It's not to my taste, the fake guitar box or the oversized thing. It doesn't do anything for me. Let's get into disc 1 and talk about some of the material. I mean, this is the disc for me on the album. It's the early era. It's everything. It's the foundation of the band. So, I mean, obviously we get Deuce and Strutter from the original Kiss demo, 1973. Should they have even included those tracks, since they had been released before as B-sides in the Revenge era and Hot in the Shade era? So those were well circulated by then. Should they have put like Cold Gin, Black Diamond, or was it Firehouse? I can't remember. I can't remember the other one. Alex, what do you think's really missing on disc 1 for that era?
I think, I was actually going through my, what I do have of unreleased material. Don't Get Me, Jane or Paul. I really think the demos, if we're doing a box set and we'll kind of packaging the gems, if you will, the things that aren't out there and stuff. I think, granted, it's cool that they had the live version, from the Alive, but I think of Cold Gin's on here. But they should have had all 5 of the demos from the Eddie Kramer demos. I think all 5 of those should have been on there, starting out at least. Because they've always talked about the demos of the Eddie Kramer. I think they've always kind of talked about how good they were too. So I would have included all 5 of those on there, at least in that regard too. I agree. The Wicked Lester album should have been on there. That's what I would have done that. And then I don't know what the quality was at the time for the tape they had. I'm glad they had Acrobat on there, but I think Life in the Full should have been on the box set. Especially when if any of those who have history, you've seen the book, you've seen the track listing and the set list picture they have where it says Life in the Woods. I would have liked to have seen that on the box set. I'm glad it's out there and you can find it on YouTube for those who haven't heard it yet. It's not like a fancy track or anything, but I would have liked to have at least included that. I'm glad if they omitted one track, even though it's a fun little catchy one to hear that does exist out there. I am glad they did not put Stanley the Parrot on the box set.
Oh, that kills me, man. I love Stanley the Parrot.
I don't mind it. I was going through going like, what would you pick? I mean, they had the whole wicked list, but they probably could have topped Stanley the Parrot at the beginning of it. But I was like trying to think, where would you want to put this on the box set? Where would it fit comfortably? And I was having trouble making a playlist with it, so.
Put it right before Strutter, since that's what it allegedly became, the chord progression, which I still don't hear. Joel, what about you? What's good on this first disc? What's missing for you?
I would have left off the majority of a lot of the regular tracks. Again, I really wanted to hear the demos, the Wicked Lester stuff. But not only that, but I still want to hear, or even want to find out, if Strange Ways was done with the drum solo. Because apparently Peter was ready to leave the band because he didn't do that. So I would have liked to have heard that, definitely. That's a lot of the stuff I would have done. And not only that, but I know, like Ladies in Waiting, a live version of that rather than the studio cut, for example.
Yeah, that would have been a really cool idea. I don't know if that's disc 2, where a live comes in.
It might be.
Yeah, even the outtake, what is it, Let Me Know from Alive, anything from that. I mean, that's one of the few areas they do have multi-tracks for. I think I could probably do without the Wicked Lester stuff if they weren't going to release the whole thing. Keep it all Kiss. Maybe the token, here's Gene pre-Kiss and here's Paul pre-Kiss, and Ace and Peter won't give us anything, so they're not going to be featured. I mean, it's December 2001, so Ace is already jumping ship and Peter's wearing tears. So what about you, Ken? What's good on this first disc really jumps out at you?
Just the early stuff and the demos, I guess, are what stands out for me. I think the pre-Kiss songs, they stand out. It's good to see what they were doing as a led up to being Kiss. That's why I say I know you say Ace and Peter are not going to give them something, but they could have grabbed something. I don't know if they just didn't want to, pay the royalties, I guess, the record company and so on, who own the prior rights, maybe for Chelsea or something
it's
like
a total
that.
shame to not have those guys represented. I agree with you on that.
Yeah. So nothing stands out. It's mostly what I've heard, I guess, before anyway, because I probably had a number of bootlegs and so on. But it's a good disc. It's probably one of the stronger discs, actually, in a set, and I think it slowly goes downhill as you get into, all the way down to disc 5.
Yeah, it starts off high and goes low. Disc 1, I think the Bell Sound stuff, the demos, was probably for me the biggest win on that, along with, the Acrobat's neither here nor there. I agree, Life in the Woods would have been a better pick for that. Acrobat had circulated on, a couple of bootlegs for years. There's live shows in '74 with performances of it, so that really didn't do anything. But Bell Sound, there's 2 Bell Sound demos that they didn't release as well, so Nothing to Lose and the demo version of Acrobat. I think I would have rather have had those included than the live version of Acrobat. So, but for the most part, if they replaced those 3 Wicked Lester songs with the 3 Kiss demo songs from March or whenever it was, that would have improved it a whole lot. But the rest of the, once you get to the other tracks, Nothing to Lose, Black Diamond, all the studio stuff, I kind of lose interest. Why don't we jump into disc 2, which I'm trying to look at. This is 1975 to 77. This is the golden era Kiss. Alex, thoughts on this disc?
It had demos. I'm just going to throw this out there real quick. If there's ever a box set that you guys want to take a look at, a pretty good set, except for this one, in my opinion, it's the Jimi Hendrix West Coast Seattle Boy, where all the tracks are either alternate takes and stuff. I wish Kiss would have somewhat had that format. But going back to disc 2, I like it. I mean, I thought "Don't You Hesitate," Mad Dog, the God of Thunder demo, like that was really cool stuff. To get to hear the Paul Stanley sing "God of Thunder," you know, how cool was that? Bad Bad. It was weird hearing Bad Bad Love and then going into Calling Dr. Love. It was like, okay, it's like two tracks that are the same, but it was cool just hearing the Bad Bad Love. And my only complaint that I have with disc 2 is the tracking placement of Christine 16, a Hard Luck Woman. Because it goes Mr. Speed demo, Christine 16, taken from Love Gun. Then we jump back to Hard Luck Woman. Then we jump back to Love Gun. And so I would have swapped those two around if I could have gone there and mastered and switched the tracks. Again, I would have liked a few more demos. You know, you have the 4 tracks from the Alive. Nothing wrong. I mean, they're great tracks. I mean, come on, Alive is like one of the greatest live records. But mentioned before, I would have liked it for maybe some of those outtakes from the Alive, you know, recordings. Let Me Know, Ladies in Waiting would have been super cool. Maybe a rougher version of like, you know, of the songs from Alive before they might have got a little TLC from Eddie Kramer. That would have been pretty cool to have those kind of versions on there.
So I think you probably do get that with I Want You, the so-called soundcheck, which to me sounds identical to the Japan recording from March 77, not what it's advertised as. Don't You Hesitate. I'd never heard of that song. I know that some folks had, and that all those 1975 demos that really started circulating last year, you know, did circulate back then, and you know, very tightly controlled. So that was a major. Don't You Hesitate, and Mad Dog, and the dancey version of, you know, Paul's Happy God of Thunder. For me, were awesome. Ken, what about you?
Well, disc 1 is missing She for me. I mean, not the Wicked Lester She, but their version of She. I thought should have been on that one. But disc 2,
live or studio?
You know what? I think live would have been the thing to put on.
With Ace solo?
Yeah.
Definitely. And that's where they can expand the disc. And also on this disc 2, they should have had more of the Alive. Actually a full live recording of one of the whole taped shows that they used for it. So that's where this box set, you know, could expand. The demos on it, Don't You Hesitate is cool. You know, Mad Dog, you know, they're pretty good. Mr. Speed, which is one of my favorite songs, it was kind of cool seeing the demo version of it. So for the most part, it's pretty good. Again, the track order is a little, for me, a little out of sequence there. And then Rock and Roll Over, you know, we got only a couple things there. I think we're missing, like, we should have had maybe Take Me and, you know, a couple others on there too, in my opinion, since it's such a strong album. So it's a good disc. It's a good overview of that 75 to 77 period, though you'll see in disc 3 it says starts at 76, so why did we go back to 76 from 77 to disc 2? I don't know.
Yeah, it comes a little bit disjointed. Joel, what are your thoughts on disc 2?
I love God of Thunder. Hearing that, not only that, but it's a lot faster, which is kind of similar to Live 2, the way they kind of performed it live then, not slow. And then I really liked how they did Mad Dog, or which one was it? The calling, Bad Bad Love and Into Dr. Love, because you got to see Gene Simmons as a songwriter and what the song came to. And so that I really appreciated as a songwriter myself or a musician to see where it went. The I Want You soundcheck recording was great. I really appreciated that. But to me, why not put the Kiss Meets the Phantom recording of Beth on there, the acoustic version?
Yeah.
They recorded it. I mean, what a great opportunity would have been for the box set for material like that. And so I would have loved to have heard that, and I'm sure Peter Chris would have liked it too. But it was stuff like that. Another thing, like Great Expectations, I don't really know why that's on the box set. To be honest, that's just me. But to me, there was just so much other things they could have put on there rather than like that. For example, and then Shock Me. Why don't you do it with a complete solo that Ace did live? And not only that, but it was mentioned before, Take Me. You don't have to put the studio recording on it, but put one of the live recordings on it.
Yeah, so there's some really odd choices. I totally agree with you on particularly the Destroyer songs. Great Expectations, Do You Love Me, Beth. Well, why not? The demos have circulated for a long time. I would love to have crystal clear copies of the alternate versions of Do You Love Me. Flaming Youth and Great Expectations. Those...
Yeah, Ain't None of Your Business should have been on that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Peter and I.
Actually, that's what I was going to bring up was that song too, because that was a demo that I think Peter brought in. I would have really liked to have heard that.
Yeah, except for it not being written by the band, so you get back into the publishing and all that drama. But I mean, years on, when they do the Destroyer Resurrected, and we don't get like an expanded edition of Destroyer as we hope, I mean, then we really miss it. So then you get into the Rock and Roll Over, Queen for a Day, instrumental. Well, it's not there. Or, Gene had told us about all these songs over the years, and maybe we're spoiled in that sense that we've heard of things like the stuff he did with Joe Perry, Mongoloid Man. Even though they're instrumentals, if he's going to give us throwaways from the Gene Simmons treasure box of like Love is Blind and Bad Bad Loving, both of which had versions already circulating out there, that doesn't really add anything. And I guess that's my biggest beef about... the first three discs, that we're kind of teased with, here's the good sounding stuff. Oh, but by the way, it already circulates. So,
well, like Joel said, he liked the Calling Dr. Love and the Bad Bad Lovin', which you could see was the beginnings of that song and the roots of that song. Anytime they do that, they should have done also, for instance, like the demo of Mr. Speed. They should have had Mr. Speed demo and then the Mr. Speed, what it became on the album. If they're going to do that, they should, those should always be back to back so you can see where it started and what it became. The other demos that were never released as songs, who cares where they fall in, I guess, so much, but the ones where, you have the precursor to the original recording, to me, that's fascinating to see how they change things, or the beginnings of songs, or how they just tweaked them a little bit to make them the final song.
I think the final thing I'd say on those Alive tracks, and that's the first 4 songs on disc 2, they could have deleted those and put on the King Biscuit Alive versions from the radio show broadcast, which are slightly different. Obviously, that also includes Let Me Know. But that's 5 songs right there. You get to hear them actually mention Cleveland. Hotter Than Hell has a great Paul rap intro into it. I think it's Flying Too Close to the Sun and all that sort of stuff. But that would have been better than having just the bland Alive tracks. And I would have thought it would have been easy just to go with that, but those are great suggestions. I never would have thought about the Phantom version of Beth. That would have been a great inclusion. Why don't we move on to disc 3?
One more real quick would have been Got Love for Sale, that Gene has talked about, that Eddie Van Halen and Alex Van Halen recorded. And Gene has mentioned this numerous times, and so I thought it was going to be on the Love Gun Deluxe, and it's not.
It's not. And they're still having problems apparently with the Van Halen brothers on the rights for that, which is a real shame for what Gene did for their career. I'm sure they could throw Gene a bone, especially if Eddie didn't want to join the band in '82. Come on, Eddie. Edward. Let Gene make. How many copies is he going to sell? 140,000 is what the box sold. And one small song. It would be great to hear all those versions of the 3 songs that the Van Halen brothers helped out with, helped Gene demo. Now we get into disc 3, which is probably, for me, it's one I hate the most on this box set, because it's predominantly just a greatest hits of stuff off the released albums. You get 3 songs on here: Gene Simmons' Radioactive demo, the You're All That I Want demo, and the live version of Talk to Me. And everything else is just generic. And it goes as I think, Ken, you said, 1976 to 82. So that's a pretty vast era. Ken, let's start with you. Disc 3, what do you think?
Well, what's glaring for me off of Alive 2 on that disc is the God of Thunder. Should have been on there. If they're going to use a God of Thunder, I mean, they had the original one on the prior disc, Paul Stanley's version, but yeah, they should have had that one. That was missing there. And they start off with Destroyer at the beginning, which is good, but that should have been on the prior disc, of course. It's a little bit out of sequence. Rocket Ride, Larger Than Life, that's cool, from the studio side of Live 2. And then they pick one song from each of the solo albums, which I think is all the singles.
Except for Paul's.
No, it wasn't, except Tonight Belong For Me wasn't the original single, which probably should have been the single, in my opinion, from Paul's album. But they had all that. And then I Was Made For Love You. Now, that should have been the long version, the 12-inch version, vinyl version. I have that somewhere still, so which is a little bit longer. I think it was on Chikara.
That's right, yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah. So they should have had that. Also, I would have liked to have seen the other one, Peter Criss' song from Dynasty.
Oh, the disco version of Dirty Livin'. It's like 6 minutes long.
Yeah.
I agree. I totally agree with you on that.
Yeah. I mean, that's an underrated song, in my opinion, for them. And then Shandy, that's cool. You're All That I Want, that's very cool, because that's, I think, better than the studio version of that song. So that is a very good song from Unmasked, or the demo version from Unmasked. Talk to Me Live, I could have taken or leave that kind of stuff, but I would have liked all of the songs from Killers on here. Actually, I mean, that's something they didn't do. They did, Nowhere to Run. Is that the only one they did?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So they should have done the other three. They missed out on some things here that they should have put in. So for the most part, it's pretty good. You get two Elder songs. Yeah, I guess so. I mean, based on its popularity,
which were the two. They were the two singles released, so they absolutely didn't go dangerous in any sense on any of the material on this third disc. Joel, what do you kind of think on these? Are they winners? Or are they losers?
Disc 3 is probably my least favorite, and not only that, but I was listening to the box set earlier today, and it was funny because I counted starting at disc 3. I think there's a total of 5 or 6 demos between starting at disc 3 to the final disc. Yep. It's not a whole lot. So the band really kind of put a lot of emphasis on the first couple of discs. And then when it came to the later material, they really kind of pulled the reins on showing that type of material. But I know you get Radioactive demo, and then you get the live version of Talk to Me, which is fine, but I agree totally that the 4 songs from Killers should have been included, because it's funny because that wasn't even released in the States other than import, and so a lot of fans most likely didn't hear those songs unless they got Killers, which was funny because I always saw Killers when I was a kid in the store, but even though it was an import, which was funny. But, so there's that. And then the other thing, you've got the Oath on there. Wasn't there a possibility with a mixed version from Friday's TV show? Something like that. It's those type of things. And then it's kind of funny because Detroit Rock City goes into the live version of King of the Nighttime World.
Yeah, and it's the butchered edit of Detroit Rock City. It's a horrible edit version. So into the live version of King of the Nighttime World. So horrible sequencing in that kind of sense of things. Alex,
just I was thinking the same. For one, the four songs from Killers should have been on the box set just because it wasn't really released in America. So that's right there. I love, the live version of King of the Nighttime World and Detroit Rock City. Put it back on disc 2. Disc 1 should have totally had a 1-2 punch, though. And I would have taken Houston Summit, or I think even Largo 77, and start with I Stole Your Love and Ladies Room. 1-2, boom, boom, right there. That would have been amazing as a starting for disc 3. And then I would have thrown on a live version of Fooligan. And maybe even I want to say "Take Me" was one of the songs that was supposed to be on the Alive 2. There's that Smith print, if you will, that has like "Fooligan," "Take Me," and one more song. I would have tossed those 3 tracks onto the screen alone right there. Alive. There's a great demo version of Rocket Ride. With Ace Frehley. I would have, if you could have had that, thrown that on there. That would have been way cool. I love the Radioactive demo. I thought that was pretty sweet. Was there any demos from the other solo albums? That would have been cool. Again, I Was Made for Loving You and Dirty Livin', the 12-inch version. So at least for Dirty Livin', even just the demo too, because the demo of Dirty Livin' is pretty sweet. You're All That I Want, the demo was awesome. I would have liked maybe a live version of Is That You as like a song from Unmasked. And then I think I would have liked for them to have thrown on that edit version of I, where it says Guts instead of Balls.
Yeah, the Guts edit. That would have been cool to have.
Just to have like that version out there, because it's, unless you've got like the recording from like the television things, that's the only way you can get it. So I would have done that. I would have thrown that out there. And then, because we do start with Creatures, or end with Creatures on this set, we'll just throw it out there. Gene Paul, if you're listening, pull your heads out, please, pull your heads out, and then get that original version of It's My Life with Harold Charles.
Oh, so you would take It's My Life before Back on the Streets with Paul singing?
Oh, I do want Back on the Streets.
You can only have one.
Vinny, please. Please let it happen. Then I'll take Back on the Streets over the It's My Life. But
yeah, I think in terms of the box set, what really boggles my head on this disc is the lack of deadly weapons. That's apparently one of the first songs Eric ever recorded with the band. Mm-hmm. So why you wouldn't have something as important as that, or the demo of Nowhere to Run, which is in the same batch of songs as Deadly Weapons. So either one of those. I'd love the idea of the 4 Killers tracks. Obviously, that's finally been released in America digitally. And if you bought the whole Kissteria box set, you got the exclusive Kiss Killers LP. But, CDs, still nothing, even though the Polygram special imports were all over the place like a plague in the 80s. I remember Kiss Killers was everywhere. So, it's almost it's even counted in SoundScan. So at this point, it's already, been released in America, technically. I think if I have to pick one song on this disc that really stands out, it's You're All That I Want. And I hate it. I really have no attachment to that song whatsoever. However, it's great to hear an early demo of the song, a really unusual kind of piece. So happy from that perspective. Don't like what it actually is, but it's cool to hear Paul, and Gene working in a studio, on tour, whatever.
Can I ask Julian, when was it recorded? Because I saw somebody say it was like 1977, though. But
yeah, that's what I'm under the impression from the book, and obviously the book is not entirely accurate, but why not? Years ago, from before 1980 when they actually recorded it. So 77, it certainly fits in with all of Gene's sort of I Want to Be Bob Dylan meets the Beatles. All right, let's move on to disc 4. And now we're really getting condensed because this one's gone 76 to 82. Disc 4 goes 83 to 89. And that's packing quite a bit of the band's history into...
I'm just going to throw that out there. Disc 4 is the Paul Stanley solo album number 2.
It's only a couple of Gene songs.
Is there any Gene song? Oh yeah, Hell or High Water.
There's
right.
One Gene and one Eric, and the rest are all Paul.
Yeah. Yep. This is the I'm More Important Than Your disc. Joel, what are your takes on disc 4?
It's pretty much an expanded, like it's been said, a Paul Stanley greatest hits, of course. Time Traveler's on there, but Sword and Stone would have been kind of cool to hear that. Those things. But not only that, but this was probably a good opportunity to showcase something live from the Hot in the Shade tour, or something with Eric Carr.
Yeah, totally.
To me, and not only that, but the rockology that was done. Those songs that Bruce Kulick put on there with Eric Carr are far better than, what is it, Ain't That Particular? I think those songs are very good. And so, unfortunately, you get this track. I'm not knocking the track, but, those other ones are so much better. And then, not only that, but you could have pulled different things from like the 83 or 84 tours, even Asylum. To me, throw us a bone, throw us a live track from that era, whatever the songs are. Even though those songs are played super fast during that time period, it would have been really good to showcase a lot of those songs. And not only that, but why is Silver Spoon on here?
Yeah.
I mean, no offense, but I'm like, why is that on there? Because I remember buying the cassette single to Rise to It. And didn't it say something like a full power guitar mix or something like that? So it was a slightly different mix.
And it's not a different mix at all. That's the problem with it.
Yeah, that's funny. I remember getting the cassette single when I was a kid, and I was just like, okay, this is different. And it sounded completely the same. But I know Hot in the Shade is pretty much a demo album anyway. But it's just kind of interesting, that it's pretty much just an expanded greatest hits.
Yeah, it's definitely the most disappointing disc on the album. Ain't That Peculiar? I just want to know, did they get sued for that, or did they license it from the Temptations? I think it was, because those lyrics were totally they weren't written by.
It's Marvin Gaye, isn't it?
Yeah,
I think so.
I'm surprised his family had to come after them yet, seeing what they did with Pharrell and Robin Thicke. So.
Oh yeah.
Well, as I'll leave it at you saying it, Alex, in case they do. But in the '80s, they had "Heaven's on Fire." The live version was a B-side to the "Tears Are Falling" single in Europe, and it was on Hearing Aid in the States. So, why isn't that on there instead of the studio version? Silver Spoon, I totally agree. What on earth were they thinking? I mean, they could have filled this disc up with all of the versions of the Let's Put the X in Sex. The 7-minute version, the 5-minute version, the 4-minute version, the 6-minute version with the dogs barking. I mean, wouldn't Kiss fans have loved to have 4 versions of that?
I would have at least Let's Put the X in Sex. I would have taken a live version from Paul Stanley's solo tour and just said, hey, it's a live version from the solo tour. That would have been better.
What about Time Traveler? You like that?
Not too bad. Oh, but like Joel, right? Mentioned Sword and Stone. I don't know why that was missing. The one I would have liked, it's not a full Paul song, but I would have taken the song Shocker too. If they would have still. But the one song, at least for the Gene, sorry to cut into, that I thought I was surprised was missing because they played it all through the 80s tour was Fits Like a Glove. And what a killer live version that would have been. And then because, we looked back with Eric Carr with fondness, I would have loved to have had a live better mix than the Detroit show of him doing Young and Wasted live. That would have been a cool thing to have on there. And like I said, I guess surprised that there's not enough maybe live stuff that they could have done with this. A Crazy Nights live sounded a little bit better than the actual track. I have never heard the demos, but, it sounds a bit more meatier, if you will. And I think Paul even discusses Crazy Nights in the booklet, is saying that the demos were stronger than the actual track itself. So I would have liked to see some more live stuff there.
Ken, thoughts?
Well,
your face says it all.
Stuff, I tell you. Look It Up. First of all, they got to look it up, and all hell's breaking loose. It's a glaring omission for me. Is Not for the Innocent. That should be on there, or even the demo version of that.
With Paul and Gene.
Yeah.
I forgot to mention that. I had that in my notes. That's...
So that's a glaring omission. I mean, this is 2 songs from Look It Up. Come on, that was a pretty solid album as far as I'm concerned. And then Heaven's on Fire. okay. Get All You Can Take, Thrills in the Night. I'm okay with that. Asylum, you got only 2. There's more than that, and I think there's at least 2 Gene songs on there that I could have thrown in from that, right? And then Time Traveler, that's cool. Hearing some of these other songs that we hadn't heard before was pretty cool. Crazy Nights, Hell or High Water, Crazy Nights, Reason to Live. It's not my best or my favorite album of theirs, but those fit. Reason to Live, I like that a lot. Let's Put the X in Sex. I you know what? I just could have gone without that one for me. It just doesn't do anything for me.
I never want to hear it again.
Hot in the Shade. Silver Spoon. I don't know why that's on there either. Behind Your Heart, and I know there's a couple other good songs on there besides that. So Forever, of course, was a big hit, and that's a good song. So I have no problem with that. But we're kind of light on demos here, and missed some key songs, I think, in that period of time.
Yeah, I think they have the, even if you take a couple of these other songs and just switch them to demo versions, Crazy Crazy Nights. Paul has said a lot about that song in interviews, about how the demo sounded better, how the choruses were thicker and fuller and all that. Okay, that would have been a great one, because throw it on instead of the studio version. The other one, Hide Your Heart, obviously that was demoed in '87 as well. And like so many of Paul's songs, the demo sounds pretty much the same as the studio version. Well, in this case, because most likely the demo became the studio version. But why not just throw that on? Here's the 1987 original untouched one, and boom, 2 songs, which would make it a lot more interesting than the 2 tracks that you do end up getting on this.
And I gotta throw, I know Gene wasn't writing the best of songs at the time, but, Trial by Fire from Asylum should have been on there, especially over Hell or High Water. If there's a track off Crazy Nights I don't even listen to often, it's Hell or High Water, so I would think it's Trial by Fire. Something that was popular at the time.
Yeah, Gene was giving all his best songs to Black and Blue at this time. All right, let's move on to disc 5. I have to flip because I don't remember these songs off the top of my head. Oh, my website's frozen. Awesome.
Well, I could read it off. We start with God Gave Rock and Roll to You, too.
Yeah, we get Eric on the back.
And then we have just on this one, we just have the demo for Domino. We do have Childhood Then with Dakota at the end of it. And then, we do have Got to Choose, which is only on the LP version of Unplugged at the time. But then we do get that wonderful, wonderful, sweet, the greatest track ever into any movie, Nothing Can Keep Me From You. It's My Life from the Psychosocial lineup. And then, of course, Rock Shout It Out Loud from Greatest Kiss, the live version. And then we get to finish with the great live, completely, and it couldn't have been touched up at all, Rock and Roll All Night with the great audience from was supposed to be a live show.
Which just happens to be the exact version that had been released on Live in Las Vegas. Amazing that. So it gets into the zone of disappointment a little bit on all the stuff that could have been. I think Childhood's End with Outrametal, Dakota, tacked back on, it's kind of cool. Joel, what are your thoughts on this one?
It's hit and miss for me, personally. God Gave You Rock and Roll to You. I actually prefer the Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey soundtrack version of it. I think it's a cleaner mix. It doesn't sound as muddy. And so when I ever put that song on my iPod or a playlist, I always put that version. I really like that. Now we get lucky with Domino as a demo, so we get lucky with that one. But again, we get 4 tracks off Unplugged. Now Got to Choose is cool because, again, that wasn't, I think that was just on the LP. But this was another example to me where the band just kind of there's some question marks. For me, Paul and Gene did some radio and TV appearances doing Going Blind of just those 2 guys. I think that would have been beautiful to put that on there. There was a lot of, I think, demos as far as like Something Wicked Comes This Way, I believe. Something like that. And then also, what about the Hard Luck Woman with Garth Brooks on Jay Leno? I mean, that would have been a great opportunity to hear that. I personally like Garth when he did it. I think that's probably the best track on that album, that particular album. But also, I remember reading in Metal Edge magazine about all these leftover tracks they had for Live 3. Why can't we ever get a good recording of Tears Are Falling from the Live 3 period? That would have been great to hear for me personally. I would have loved that. And then Arsenio Hall.
Oh, yeah.
That band sounded dynamite. And so I actually posted that on the KISSFAQ about that. That should have been included into the Kissology series. They sound dynamite. I mean, that era and that lineup, to me, can't be touched. I mean, it's just stellar. And then some of the Psycho Circus stuff, I would have rather heard, the demos or whatever. But, I Pledge Allegiance to the State and Within, I could do without it. The highlight for me on this disc is It's My Life, which should have been on Psycho Circus. It should have been the first single, and it would have been a hit. I guarantee that would have been a hit, and that would have really helped that tour, and it would have helped Psycho Circus. I guarantee Psycho Circus would have went platinum if that was on that released as the first single.
Ken, what do you think?
Well, first of all, Nothing Can Keep Me From You.
Nothing Can Keep Me From Puking on You. I hate that song.
What the heck? Who thought to put that?
I'll let somebody else use that.
It's like, come on. They're just trying to make it sell more copies, I guess, of that. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. So we got your revenge songs. Those are cool. The demo of Domino. Unplugged, I still would have put, Going Blind. Going Blind Unplugged is better than from Hotter Than Hell, the studio version, in my opinion. And then you have, Carnival Souls. You're not going to do much there. I'm okay with what they put on that. Now, Psycho Circus, I think I would have traded it out Within, and in my opinion, I would have put Journey of 1,000 Years, which I think is a better song. I think it's a better song. Pledge Allegiance to Rock and Roll, that's okay. But It's My Life. I agree with Joel. It's My Life should have been on Psycho Circus. It actually should have been on Creatures of the Night. I would have rather have had that original version. If there exists an original clean version of It's My Life from the Creatures of the Night sessions, that, to me, it's still a holy grail, one of the holy grails for me, if there's a nice, clean version of it back then. Because it's kind of, it got a little watered down, in my opinion. And then with the trading off the little extra vocals, Ace on there, I think, I would have rather not had that. But it's still a great song. You can't,
Yeah, it's a great song, and Kiss, if by chance one of your minions are listening to this, it's never too early to prepare for Record Store Day 2016. How about It's My Life, Backside, Deadly Weapons? There you go.
There you go.
All right, Ken, finish up your thought on this. I interrupted you.
Disc 5 is probably the least, like we said, it started off with a bang on Disc 1, and it kind of slowly trails off as it goes through each set. And that's not to disregard the quality of music at the time. It's just the choosing of what they decided to put on here on these discs. They kind of got tired, and we've done enough now. Let's just throw this or that on there, So,
Alex,
one thing, I'm really sorry, but I forgot one thing. Do You Want to Touch Me Now? There was a snippet that Bruce Kulick played for somebody.
3 sides of the coin.
It sounded great. It sounded cool. I don't care if there's not a vocal track on it. I want to hear it. Mm-hmm. And not only that, but like in Metal Edge and Circus, they talked about that all the time. And that should have been the first thing I mentioned, is that song. So, sorry.
I Oh no, I was going to mention that one. Big omission from at least with that song. Unplugged. I love the Unplugged track, but I agree. There's that great. I think it was MTV in Europe where they did Paul and Gene doing "Going Blind," and that really would have been KK Awesome to have on there. The Tiger Circus tracks, I don't get me wrong. I like Within and stuff, but I would have liked it for, even some of those tracks that the outtakes, if you want to call them, from the Tiger Circus album. I was surprised. I get the whole reason with Japanese imports and all bonus track, but for the box set, even though I'm not the biggest fan of it, In Your Face should have been on the box set though, just so it made it available for the the regular people who might not have been able to get the Japanese import or get the CD single from it. It's my life. I killer track. I love it, love it, love it. And hey, Tommy, Eric Singer, if you guys listen to this, watching it, like Julian mentioned about Record Store Day, I also want to throw this out there. Ain't nothing wrong with you guys practicing that song for the Kiss Cruise. That would be a killer song to be done on a Kiss Cruise. Talk about making all the kids crap, all the people on the ship crap their pants. I would crap my pants if I was on a Kiss Cruise and they put out It's My Life. I think maybe if there was any other demos from like the Carnival of Souls, there would have been kind of cool to top on there. And and then like we mentioned before, like taking Detroit Rock City, at least off disc 3, they should have had that '98 version on there on disc 5. The one that they used for the Detroit Rock City movie, just to have on there with the last recording, if you will, with the original one.
Yeah, the last full band recording, and it does circulate out there. It's a really horribly messed up version. It's not actually the full one that does exist for what they recorded in the studio. It's been the channels have been messed up and it's been edited, so you don't get the full thing. But that would have been a great one to include on it. But I want to say, I Still Love You may be an epic performance from Unplugged by Paul, but since they were having problems with Vinny suing them at the time, I'm really surprised that was on there, and not Every Time I Look at You from MTV. And I flip between these two as being some of the best Paul vocals ever. I would have put Every Time I Look at You on there. It's cool they did Got to Choose. Unholy and Domino, I don't know about Unholy. Again, the demo would probably have been a better choice, but whatever. The stuff from Carnival of Souls for me, I guess it's all throwaway at this point, so none of that really matters. In Your Face, agree, totally. That should have been on here, and I think they probably could have gotten rid of I Pledge Allegiance and put the Raise Your Glasses, like Collector's Mix or one of those stupid things, and not have to change anything. I hate the '98 version of It's My Life. It's just wrong, wrong, wrong. Agree with the comment that it should have been the '82 version, and hopefully one day they will get to it. The so-called Alive 4 version of Rock and Roll All Night, I guess we always knew that song was going to be on this box set and was going to be the last one, but, maybe Detroit Rock City '98 would have been better. So let's just talk about some of the other kind of questions. What would be, if you have to pick one missing item as being your major, it's missing, what's that going to be, Alex?
On the spot.
Only one.
Only one. I'm going to just have to go with it. Back on the Streets, Paul Stanley vocal. If it exists, that should be out there right now.
Ken?
I think I already mentioned it. I think, for me, Not for the Innocent.
Yeah, that didn't start circulating for a few years after the box, I think. But that is absolutely awesome. Go on YouTube and track that one down, because Paul and Gene trading off vocals, the aggression of that song, fantastic. Joel, what's your one thing on that you really think's missing?
Man, besides the Revenge demo, I gotta say the Detroit Rock City '98. The last time these guys actually went into a studio to record a track. That to me would have been end it with that rather than rather than Rock and Roll Night, a live 4 version of it. I mean, to me, end it like that, because at this time I kind of thought the band was done, honestly, And so I thought that what better way than to have a track from all 4 original guys. But the band's still going, which is great. But to me, put that out on something.
I got to throw this too. You mentioned that, and if you guys haven't heard, Three Sides of the Coin did a great interview with the guy who worked with Detroit Rock City, the movie, and he mentioned about them having a good time. What a cool killer way if they put that Detroit Rock City in '98, and then even if it was like 10 minutes after, having just a quick snippet of just the original lineup laughing in the studio as it finished up, that kind of ended on a good note. That would have been awesome.
Yeah, and you could always fake it from that New York Groove Blockbuster promo CD when they're goofing off in the studio, laughing and chuckling. You could always have taken the laughs from there. That's a little bit earlier on. All right, so what is your pick one? What is your mind-blowing item that was included on the box set? And this will just be word association. Joel, what's that one thing that you're like, wow, it was on there?
Probably the God of Thunder demo. To be honest with you. That Paul Stanley did. Just the way it started as a song, and then again, that would have been great to hear the original version afterwards. But for me, it's probably that, with the exception of the first CD with all the demos, and that's where a lot of the core stuff that I wanted to hear was on.
Ken, what would be yours?
I agree with Joel on that, and also I think Acrobat, because we've heard a lot about that before that time. I never even heard it. So that was a big thing for me. It's My Life. I thought it was going to be the big thing until it was a newer version and not the original, older version. But I would say Acrobat.
Alex?
I have to go... Stop, look to listen to Paul Stanley demo of Paul being super young. The quality that it's in, that was kind of like, it was really cool. Because mind you, I got this when I was like 14, and I when I got the single version I got, and then when I got the original, the actual box set. But, I think Paul was like 14, 15 when he did Stop, Look to Listen. So that, at least for myself, to go like, whoa, this is Paul Stanley, like my age, awesome. So that was it for me.
Yeah, I think I disagree with the dating on that. I think that's 1970, so he'd be 17, 18. But he was there and I wasn't, so we'll have to go by his word. For me, Don't You Hesitate was the mind-blowing one. I would have said the Bell Sound demos because those are just so freaking cool, but Don't You Hesitate, I was like, wow, I've never even heard mention of this song. Very cool. So we know that they have a lot left to do another box, but you know what? That's another episode to kind of talk about what we'd like them to put out. We've mentioned a few things today, so why don't we wrap it up? Just a general thumbs up, thumbs down. Alex, is the box set acceptable?
I gotta give, when you look back, compared, some other bands my parents like Chicago and the Chicago box set, except they finally did release the album, but it had like 3 songs from this album that they shelved for like 20 years called Stone of Sisyphus. Other than that, it was just a big expanded best of. So at least Kiss went out and put demos, so I give it 2 thumbs up. Again, though, if they were to go do a box set, I'd say to take a look at Jimi Hendrix West Coast Seattle Boy Anthology box set and look at that format and go from there.
Joel?
I like it. I don't know if it's necessarily essential, to be honest with you, just because of all the things we talked about today that were left off. Real quick, this little thing
Cheap Trick
is awesome. Cheap Trick. And probably my favorite one is Alice Cooper.
Which one's that? Crimes?
This is a Life and Crimes of Alice
Yeah.
Cooper. And to me, these ones are dynamite. And not Kiss, their box set, but to me, it could have been better.
Ken?
Well, when I first got it, it was a thumbs up. Now, years later, it's kind of like I'm right here. It was a good effort. The book was great, having that in there. That was really kind of the extra thing it needed, I think, at the time. But I think if they're going to do it, they got to do it, again, a bigger set. And I would put not only music CDs, but I would put DVD. Maybe cover some live shows of those different periods of time, include music and video, and a bigger book, and I think that would be great.
Yeah, I think if they're going to have the balls to sell a Hysteria box set, which basically has very little unreleased material for, what is it, close to $2,000, or the singles box set, which came with a pretty high premium, or a $4,000 book, they can certainly put a 10 CD box set out, knowing that it's not going to sell 1 billion copies. I mean, they got to be real. They got to be realistic that they're just sitting on this material. It's doing nothing. The 2001 box set, I'm going to give it a thumbs up still, just because it's got some really cool stuff on there, and that is the Bell Sound and Don't You Hesitate, which I hadn't heard of, didn't know about, so that still wins for me, but there's just so much filler. So let's wrap it up. That is the box set. Every single fan out there is going to have, well, I want this on it, or I want that. It's a very individual thing about what is on there. But I think every fan can probably agree there's too much studio material on Kiss's box set, but there's some really cool unreleased stuff that they did manage to include. So come on the Kiss FAQ message board, discuss this episode. Let us know what are the songs that you think should have been on there, or the ones that you really were surprised to have on the box set, because, we want to hear from you. So, Alex, Ken, and you guy, Joel, I hope you'll be back again, because it's been great having a new face on the show.
Thanks for having me.
And thank both of you for returning. And thank you everyone out there for listening, and we'll catch you again soon.
See ya.
Bye.
And